Welcome to the introduction for the composition project. For this project, you're going to be creating 4 separate designs, which means when you create your file, you're going to need to create 4 separate artboards. We're going to go over that in detail in just a minute. For this project, you're going to be creating 2 designs that are focusing on unbalance, 1 that focuses on emphasis or focal point, and your final design will show balance. The designs will all be in black and white only, meaning there will be no color in your designs. I want the majority of the design to be constructed from type, meaning letters, but I don't want you to spell any words. Okay? Why? Because I want you to focus more on the overall design layout than I do what you're actually saying in the design. So don't spell any words. I'd like to see a variety of tools and techniques used, including a lot of the text editing tools that we just learned in our Type Tools quiz. There should be no question when I grade these as to which designs are balanced, which ones are unbalanced, and which ones show me a focal point or emphasis. Now, let's get started by creating a new file. So in Illustrator, we're going to go to File, New. When this window shows up, we're going to put in our document dimensions. Now, every project sheet of mine should tell you the dimensions. Let's close this out and go back. If you look closely, it says file size, 6 inches by 10 inches. Doesn't matter if it's landscape or portrait, meaning it can be up and down or side to side. So 6 by 10. Let's go to File, New. And I want this to be 6 inches by 10 inches. Now, make sure this is set to inches, not pixels, not points, not picas, nothing like that. You can also name your file here. Remember, our naming convention is your last name underscore, your last name underscore your first name underscore whatever the name of the project is. In this case, composition. You can also choose here whether you want your document to be portrait or landscape. It gives you a little example here. The one difference for this project is that we need not 1, not 2, but 4 artboards. Push create to create your file. There's my 4 artboards. If you for some reason forgot to add more than 1 artboard to your design, remember in your tool panel you can use your artboard tool to edit. And if you only have 1, say I only have 3 for some reason, you can copy and paste, or you can Alt drag. Remember, Alt drag allows you to duplicate. So I'm going to hold down the Alt key on my keyboard until I see the double arrows, and then I'm going to click and drag to duplicate, and it's going to copy it. Once you're done, you can grab your black arrow and get started with your design. Now remember, the purpose of this project is for you to create balance, unbalance, and focal point in your designs. I also mentioned the use of text, so let's get started with our type tool. You can use text objects or text boxes. I'm not being super specific with that, but what I do want to see is some creativity in your designs, meaning what I don't want is I don't want you to just click with your type tool and type some random text like this. And I don't want you to just take your text and copy it a couple times and say, oh, Miss Boone, I'm done. This is unbalanced. While you are correct, it's also very boring. All you did was type 1 line of text, copy it a couple of times, and then say that it's unbalanced. Let's get a little bit more creative in our designing and remember the tools that we've learned in our Type Tools quiz. So let's delete this. And let's get started with something simple. I'm not saying it has to be very complicated. What I'm saying is maybe think outside the box. So let's start with a letter K. Remember to hold Shift when you're resizing your text. Otherwise, you're going to end up with squishy letters. If I see squishy letters, I'm going to delete them or it's going to affect your grade. Let's get rid of this Myriad Pro default font. You should have a bunch of fonts on your computer. If not, let me know and we can install some more fonts. Look at all these different ones that are available. A cool way to scan through these, remember, is if you just select your word or your letter, click on the name of the font over here in the character window, and then use the up and down arrows on your keyboard to scroll through, you can see some different fonts that are available without even having to select them and then go back. Right? So there's a ton of different fonts. Let's choose something simple for now for my example. All right, I'm going to go with this. All right, so we've got a big, bold K, and I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to rotate this, and I'm going to use some of the angles that already exist in my design to help create something a little bit more unique. All right, so let's resize this. Okay. I should be able to know that I can right-click and create outlines of my letters. Now they are shapes, and I can edit them with my white arrow. Remember this from your Type Tools quiz. If you are totally confused, you need to go back and watch that video. Okay. I can come up with some different ways to edit text, right? So I've got some basics right now. You could test this if it was balanced or unbalanced. If you're not sure, it is unbalanced, if you were wondering. Okay. And I'm actually going to edit this too. Let's see what I can do here. So I'm going to try to make this K something a little bit different. Okay. Now we're starting to look more like a design and less like some letters, which is really cool. So let's add some lines. You are allowed to use lines or shapes to add to your designs. That's okay. But what I don't want is, I don't want to see your design strictly as shapes. If I see your design strictly as shapes, that's going to be a problem. It's going to affect your grade because what does the project sheet say? It says for you to create a design of mostly letters. Okay. So here we go. I'm going to adjust this a little bit. All right, there we go. So I've got some lines. Now, this is a whole lot more interesting than just that block of letters, that line of text. May not be totally finished yet. I can do some different things, maybe with my eraser tool to create some more unique design elements, or I can use other letters. Like, let's see, maybe I'll use a V. Try and stick with some of the angles that I've got here. And maybe I want to adjust this so that instead of having a solid V, I put an outline stroke on it. Okay. It's not going to be perfect because, why? Because it's a new design. All right. So maybe this font is not my best choice. Let's see if I can find one that fits a little bit better. Right. I want something that's a little bit more short. Remember, I'm not squishing letters. Whoops, what was that? That could work. Look at that V. It's almost perfect. All right, so now I need to be precise and decide how I want to fit this in so that it looks nice and it looks like I did it on purpose and I didn't just slap a different letter in there, right? All right, cool. So now we're getting somewhere. This is a whole lot more interesting. I want you to think about different ways that you could do this. We've also got other ways that we can create some unique and interesting elements. Let's talk about text boxes. All right, so let's grab our type tool, draw a box. Here's my filler text. Okay, I can adjust the spacing of my text box if I want. I'm going to make it so that it's a little bit more filled in. All right, that's the end of it. Let's stop it right here. Now, the cool thing about having a text box is, let's bump this up here. Okay, the cool thing about having a text box is we can use our character window to edit this and make it a little bit easier to deal with, right? So I've got some extra text. That's what this little red dot means. I can just come to the end and push the delete button, and it's going to delete all the extra text that I don't see, that I don't really need. So I'm going to delete it so that that little red square goes away. Apparently there's a whole lot of extra text back there. If you really want to look and see, you could do it this way too, where you just make your text box bigger. Double click and highlight what you don't want and backspace. And that also works. So there is the text that I actually wanted. Yes, you can type gibberish in this if you want. I'm just going to use this to make it a little bit faster. Okay, so there's my text, I can adjust the spacing between the lines here in my character window. I can duplicate this by alt dragging. Okay, if I want to hold shift, I can make it nice and even. Or I can do this the messy way, right? By overlapping and making this more of a filled in area. Right, look at this. I'm just making this giant block. The cool thing about doing this is now I can add letters that maybe have a little bit more interest, right? By using a white fill and a black stroke. Remember, this project's in black and white. I can do things like this. Edit, use your type tools. There's so many different things. You can use your eraser tool. You can block stuff off the page like this. Right? If I want to trim this K, I can create outlines of it and use my eraser tool and hold Alt. I get a square for erasing, or a rectangle. And now I'm trimmed up to my artboard, which is neat. Okay, nice and neat. So I want you guys to think outside the box when you're doing this. There's so many different ways that you can do this and so many different interesting ways to show me balance or unbalance. Remember, you need to check yourself. So if you're unsure if it's balanced or unbalanced, let's use our line segment tool. You can either draw a pretend line from corner to corner. Okay, this is unbalanced. You can draw a line from the opposite corner, also unbalanced. Across the center, all of the weight lies below the line. Look, there's a bunch of white space, and that's totally fine. Now, if it's unbalanced in one direction, your design is unbalanced. Right? So both of these are unbalanced. This one also has a focal point, this K. It's much different and larger and different color than all of the smaller text behind it. So this is a focal point and unbalanced. Remember, you're showing me two unbalanced designs, one focal point, and one balance. Okay? If you have questions about this or you're not sure about what those type tools were, you need to go back and rewatch the video about the type tools quiz.